Ladies and gentlemen, now we're being joined by someone who's been on the front lines of dealing with this charter. Former charter board member Eileen Britt joins us now. Eileen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We talked a little bit earlier because I think it's important to put a human side to this story. You've been on the front lines from the very beginning. Explain to us why it's important that this charter happen.
Oh, this is completely personal for me and a lot of the homeowners that I represent. I am an HOA board member and have been in my community since 2014. I am a community that is part of a master village called the Villages of Wooded Glen under Docket 90. In our community, we've experienced a tremendous amount of issues with our developer. And as I became a HOA president, listening to the concerns of my homeowners regarding structural issues, building issues, the construction of their homes, the construction of common areas, our amenities. At that time, when I assumed my leadership position in this community, I tried to access government, and government was not accessible to me or others like me in the Waldorf area. So this is very, very personal to me. It's been heartbreaking to hear people say to me that, I tried to reach out to my commissioner. And at that time, again, it was 2014, so I had another commissioner at that time. And they're unresponsive. Or I applied for a job in Charles County government, and for some reason, they're not responding. Or I got this letter from Planning and Growth Management where I failed, and I don't understand what that means. Or my house was built and my power's not working, or I have a gas leak. Who oversees that? And so, since I assumed my leadership position in this community, Fieldside, in 2019, I've been on a journey of trying to access county government, county legal, and they, at that time, were not accessible to me. So learning about the inefficiencies and the lack of access and the lack of transparency, that has substantiated or fueled my passion and understanding that we need a change in Charles County.
Absolutely.
More importantly, learning everything that I've learned as being a former charter board member. We spent a tremendous amount of time and work in researching and asking, submitting FOIA requests and asking for information from county government, and just seeing how county government operates, not even back in 2014, 2015, up into this date, but even currently, even as a charter board member, on how they were still trying not to provide us access and nor being accountable for their wrongdoings.
And I think this is what, as I spoke to Commissioner Patterson earlier, I think having the charter is an accountability. Accountability is what I call it. But let's go back, because knowledge is power. Eileen, explain to me what Docket 19 means for those that don't understand.
So Docket 90. So Docket 90.
90, excuse me.
That's okay. Docket 90 for those who live in the Waldorf area is a subdivision master plan that was actually passed in 1971. It's very old. And we have a rendering here of the St. Charles master plan. In 1971, there was a master subdivision plan. And what happened at that time is those commissioners passed legislation that started this whole massive build out, or the beginnings of it, in St. Charles. Initially, it was going to be another area instead of Waldorf. It was going to be called St. Charles. And so the original plan was to have very dense building A lot of people have moved into this area thinking, I'm moving into the suburbs, I'm getting out of whatever it is that they're looking for down here. And they don't realize that this is actually this is going to be an urban area, you know? And this is something that they don't explain, the builders don't explain, and county government doesn't do a good job in explaining to citizens as well.
So as we come together, if you come together in numbers, do you feel like that will help make a pathway into, you know, making a difference is what I see.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
So since my community specifically, we had to hire counsel to help us with the developer because of some wrongdoings. I was able to connect with my sister village, Stonehaven, and now Parklands. And I was able to inform them and help and brief them on what Docket 90 means and how that implicates and how that's going to impact them in the future. With that, we have myself and others have come together, other leaders in the county, HOA leaders, to form an alliance so we can help edify one another. We can help educate and support one another. That has been tremendous. Through that process, we have uncovered a lot of inefficiencies, again, getting back to county government with antiquated building code, antiquated legislation. This is something they have shared with our HOA Alliance that, oh my gosh, our building code is a little antiquated. And we say, well, why is it antiquated? Well, we just don't have enough staff, or we make these recommendations to the commissioners, but they don't do anything about it.
And this, the reason this is such an important topic is because the average person is not aware of what is going on, Eileen. And I think that's why it's important to have an alliance that you have.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I've been to several community meetings, just meeting people with varying developers, whether, you know, you can name a developer. I've met, you know, a homeowner that's dealt with issues with their developer. But the common theme, we can point fingers at developers all day. The common theme is not the developer, okay? And I'll give you a parable, if you will, or something along those lines, an example. You can say, you know what, that child is not doing their homework, right? Well, who do we blame? Do we blame the child or do we blame the parents? Okay? County government is supposed to oversee these developers. They're supposed to be holding the developers accountable, and they're not. And that's the problem. You know, and that's the common thing. You hear people with issues with their roofs collapsing. You hear issues with their wiring not working, right? They're failing the power, their lighting, their structure in their homes. Well, who do we go to? Well, we inform county government, and county government is like, that's not me. As a matter of fact, in a recent meeting, county government staff had indicated to us, well, why are you blaming us? Well, where does the buck stop? Where does the buck stop? Oh, well, we hire a third party. Well, how would the average layman homeowner know that you hired a third party and that we should go to them? Where is that policy? Where is that playbook to the average citizen moving into this county to understand how to work through the intricacies of our current system? And in this instance, again, I said earlier, I had an issue reaching out to my one commissioner. Then I found out, I'm like, well, what is a commissioner, right? A lot of people don't even know there are commissioners. They think it's a mayor. No, it's a commissioner. And guess what? You don't only have to speak to one, you got to speak to 5.
And this is why I called it a civics lesson 101 for so many. Big year, Eileen, going forth, big election year. How do you foresee this year differently? Do you feel stronger?
I feel empowered. I feel empowered. I feel discouraged for the people who don't know, So that fuels my passion to get the information out. But I feel very empowered that once people understand, that they too will say, you know what, this is the pathway forward. The charter offers a citizen forward-facing pathway to control and to see the kind of government they want to see in the future.
And I think people need to understand, not belittling HOA. It is the smallest of things. I've learned so much today from dealing with an HOA to how we do our streets and the lights and what happens in the county, all of that. So I think it's an important lesson that we need to empower ourselves and not wait sometimes for the officials, to empower ourselves with that knowledge.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of people, from my experience, there are a lot of people that have moved into our area and have moved from different parts of the country, which is absolutely wonderful, right? And they say, well, where's the city hall? I'm like, we don't have one, right? Well, where's the mayor? We don't have one.
Correct.
Well, how do I get in touch with the leaders in the county? Well, here's our commissioner, here's your commissioner, and they still feel unheard, and they still feel they don't have access. And I would say to citizens, and I always inform them, that it's not our commissioners you need to speak to. That's not who's in power. It's the county administrator. And they're like, well, who's that? Oh, that's the person running day to day, right? That's the person running day to day. Well, why can't I reach out to them? Oh, you got to go through your commissioner in order to get to that person. Well, do we elect them? No, we don't elect that person. Well, what? And people are so surprised about, well, how can the person that runs day to day not be the person that they've elected into office?
Understood. So again, big decision year. We need a call to action. What is that action, Eileen?
The call to action is every citizen needs to be versed in this charter. There's QR codes, there's a website, and to know that citizens, the average layman person, I'm one of them, were selected to advocate and build out a charter. And the call to action is learn this charter. This charter document is the framework for citizens to be empowered to see and manifest the government they want to see in the future.
Absolutely. Eileen, Britt, on the front lines. Thank you for joining us, Eileen.
Thank you for having me today.